In our last video, we took a look at a while loop in Python. And a while loop, just like in other programming languages, Python allows you to take a block of code, wrap it in a while loop, and while that condition specified in the while loop resolves to true, the loop keeps going over and over and over again. So as you can see on the screen, we had some code looking at a counter. And that counter variable was an integer, and it started at 0. And the while loop would continue while the counter was less than 10. Each time we executed the code block, we would increase the counter by 1. There's another way of looping in Python, and it's called a for loop. Instead of looping while a condition is true, a for loop takes a look at an array or a list and iterates through each item of that list or array. This is in the text for this week's reading, but what I'd like to do is show you a for loop that does exactly the same thing as our while loop. So remember, in our while loop, we're essentially counting to 10. We first started off going from 0 to 9. This version of the loop allows us to do 1 through 10. But let's say we wanted to show 0 through 9 again. So I'm going to get rid of this while loop altogether, and I'm going to get rid of our counter, because we don't need it. In a for loop, we're going to write the word for, and then we're going to specify the variable which will store the value from the list, which will be chosen for each iteration or run of the for loop. So we can use the variable counter again. So for each counter in, and then Python provides a function called range, which, and I know we haven't talked about arrays or lists yet, but essentially a range creates an array or list of objects. So for instance, I can type the word range, and if I want a list from 0 through 9, I would type in 0, range, 0, comma, 10. Now, just a note, range is interesting because you have a start value, and the stop value is what you go up to. So if we say start at 0 and go up to 10, that will give us the values of 0 through 9. And then just like a while loop, you put a colon. Now I want to take a step off of this, and in a comment I want to show you this range function generates a list in Python that looks like this. And again, I know we haven't talked about lists or arrays, but essentially it creates this a list of objects, and the for loop will look at each individual item in order. So we see 0 would be first, 1 would be second, 2 would be third, and so on and so forth. So if you're wondering what range does, range allows us to create a list. You could easily write this same value into where we put range. We'll do that in a moment. So let's talk about our code block. So just like in a while loop, you do create a code block that the for loop will enter each time, each iteration, each run. And let's say we wanted to display counter to the screen, print counter. And that's it. Let's save this file. And we will run this. And we see here we have displayed 0 through 9 on the screen. Now let's go back to our code. And I told you that range creates an array or a list. I know we haven't talked about it yet, but let's paste this in here. Let's replace this call to range with this list of integers, save it, and run it again. You'll see the exact same results. So again, range is just an easy method to create or generate that list. So that is a for loop. There's really not much to it. Again, what you're doing instead of a while loop where you're looking at a condition over and over and over again, for iterates over an array or list of objects. In this case, we are iterating through counter through a set of 10 integers from 0 through 9. We originally used the range method to do that, and each time enters the code block to print counter. Now, break and continue also work. So let's say in this for loop, we really didn't want to print the number 1. So we could put an if statement, if counter equals 1, continue. So if counter is equal to 1 and we run this, it's going to skip displaying the number 1. And let's say we wanted to stop at 5. So really just want to display 0 through 4. We could use break. And here in this code, once counter is equal to 5, we're going to exit this for loop altogether. So you're only going to see 0 through 4 on the screen. If we run it again, we see 0 through 4. So again, a for loop, pretty simple. Again, iterates through items in the list. Both break works and continue works, just like a while loop. While a while loop deals with conditionals, a for loop will look at a list. And that's pretty much it. You can do the same thing with either or. Sometimes it's better to deal with a for loop. As we get into lists, you will find for loops are easier, but if you're using counters or iterating over numbers, incrementing numbers, a while loop is better. Both have the same effect of going over and over and over again a block of code, but the situation may deem that a for loop is more appropriate or a while loop is more appropriate. So your choice. Anytime we have a loop assignment, if you want to use a for or a while, doesn't matter to me. It really is what's most efficient for you and what makes the most logical sense.